What's up, guys, and welcome back. Today I have an amazing game for you, played by none other than the legend Garry Kasparov. This game was played in 1994 against the guy who actually took the title from Kasparov, the World Championship title, and it's Vladimir Kramnik. This game was played in a blitz tournament, and at the same year at 1994, but later after the game, the same variation actually occurred. Uh, let's check out the game. Kramnik opened with d4. Kramnik loves d4, and he's a specialist in d4 or c4 or like knight f3. And he rarely plays e4 actually. So d4, knight f6, c4, g6 by Kasparov, and knight c3, bishop g7. We have after e4 d6, the king's Indian defense, which is one of Kasparov's favorite openings. Knight f3, we have castles, bishop e2, and now e5. So the main line here goes castles, knight c6, pressuring the central pawn. So d5, advancing, knight e2, the knight goes back to e1, you go to d7, let's say bishop here, f5, f3, so that you can drop with the bishop after f4 here, drop back, and yeah, white tries to play b5 and c5 and pressure the queen side while black attacks on the king side. This is the main line, but Kramnik here played d5 immediately. This is called, I think, the Petrusian variation after Tigran Petrusian. So now black cannot go knight c6. Well, you can go knight c6 and lose your knight, but you don't want to do it. So the line goes like this. So Kasparov played a5. You play a5 here, and you put the knight on c5. You don't put the knight on c5 immediately here because, let's say castles, you go knight c5, there's b4. So your knight will get kicked back. So you play a5 first, you secure the c5 square first, and here Kramnik played bishop g5. Kasparov played h6, asking the bishop to move. The most common move here is bishop just back to e3, so you want to put your bishop on e3. This is usually the best square for it for white in the king's Indian defense, but you first go bishop g5 to provoke h6, and then you go back. This is an idea. You can go bishop e3 immediately. Both are playable. But here Kramnik went back. It's not a bad move, but it's not the most common idea here. So bishop h4, and now knight a6. Kasparov continues with his plan to go to c5, castles, bishop d7 first by Kasparov. This variation was actually played twice between Kasparov and Kramnik a year later, or like 2 years later. So after this game, Kasparov and Kramnik reached this position twice, and in both games Kasparov went queen e8 here. So I'm winning, and maybe he wants to move his knight and go f5, g5 immediately. Kasparov won both games actually. But here Kasparov chose bishop d7, and now Kramnik played knight fd2. So the idea behind knight fd2 is after knight c5, the pawn is not hanging, and you can play f3 also, and you can drop the bishop back to f2. So this is a way to like secure the bishop and also defend the pawn. Also later, after you play a6, b5, the knight could jump into the b3, or after c5 the knight could jump to c4. So knight d2 is a thematic move here, and it's a multi-purpose move. So knight c5, continuing the plan, b3. Okay, so in these positions, or usually in closed positions, you want to play where your central chain points to. What do I mean by this? So the pawns here on the black's camp actually point towards the king side. So you want to play on the king side by achieving f5, while white has more space on the queen side, so he wants to push on the queen side. Now to push on the queen side, you could you have to achieve a6 and then b5, b4. You can't play b4 immediately because you lose your pawn. But why not a3 immediately? I mean, why did Kramnik play b3 here? Sorry. If you play a3, then I go a4. So now if you go b5, I just take en passant, and I ruined your pawn chain. So now it's very hard to achieve c5. I mean, okay, how are you going to achieve c5 now? So you play here b3, then a3, and then b4. It takes some time, but you have to do it like this. Now here comes a move that probably shocked Kramnik. This move, I think it was first played in this game, and later in the same year, the same move was played, but White managed to find the refutation for it. Now Kasparov here played the amazing knight takes on e4. Wait, but isn't the queen hanging here? Yes, it is hanging, but the idea here is after you have to take the queen. I mean, the bishop is hanging. You cannot take the knight because you lose your bishop, and you already lost a central pawn. You cannot move your bishop back because your knight is hanging. So you have to take the queen. There are no other moves. So bishop takes, and first you take the knight. Now the queen is attacked and the bishop is attacked. So this is quite important. If the bishop was not hanging, then queen c2 attacks the knight, and the bishop, if you take the bishop, then you lose your knight, so you're losing here. But now if you go queen c2, then I take with check first, and then I take your bishop. I think I can even just attack the queen first, maybe. So here by Kramnik played queen e1, defending his bishop and moving the queen away. This is the only move. And now rook f takes on d8. Rook a takes on d8 is also playable, but Kasparov here, he liked the rook to be on a8, maybe later to play a4 and activate this rook. Here, after rook f takes on d8, Kramnik played rook c1. Now this is a blunder. I already mentioned that this variation was reached at the same year in a different game between who played it? I think Boris Golko played it against Van Willy, two very strong grandmasters, and in that game White actually played the correct move, knight b1. It looks completely stupid. I mean, what if you take here and play e5? Don't you lose your rook? Well, that's the idea. You play knight d2 here. As black, you don't want to take the rook. This bishop is way stronger than the rook. And remember, you're down material here. So you want to play f5 here. Now, White has a slight advantage here, but the position is playable. But you have to know that taking the rook is not good to actually go for this move, knight b1. So here after knight d2, actually the best move is f5. And in this position, black wants to keep the position closed. So it's not good for black to open up the position. I mean, if you take here, you lost. Oh, look at your dark squares, they are quite weak. And later black would be able to play f3, maybe open up the position. And yeah, you as black, you're not doing very well here. So that game actually black played f5, I think, and defended the pawn, so the correct move. And then after rook d1, he went g5, which was not good. And then after f5, White managed to open up the king side and later won the game. But here Kramnik played rook c1, a blunder. Kramnik's idea here was, okay, if you take, I'm breathing a bit here. Take the pawn and just give me some play. But this was wrong. Rook goes to a1 now, attacking the knight, and now the knight drops to b4. This is why giving the pawn was not good. Now the knights have amazing squares, and the knight is threatening a fork here. I mean, before you could have played a3 at least, and maybe dream of playing b4. Now you don't have this anymore. And White has a queen here for two pieces and a pawn, or two pawns. But the thing is, there's no play. There are no plans for White here. So bishop goes back to stop the fork, and now e4 here, a very nice move. Attacking the rook, first of all, activating this bishop and preparing to storm on the king side. You cannot take this this pawn. I mean, I can bin you first of all, and also you lose your rook, so you cannot take the pawn. Now rook b1, and now rook goes to e8 to defend the e pawn. Queen d3, e3, sorry, stopping bishop d4, because let's say you play, maybe this is a threat here, and then later you push the pawn and you crash through the position. So the rook goes to e8 here, defending the pawn, and after now Kramnik plays queen d3, e3, and now f5, defending the pawn and also planning a pawn storm on the king side. Now h4 by Kramnik, stopping g4, and because let's say you play this, I could go g4 and f5 here, f4. So you don't want to let these pawns march forward. f4, f5, h4, and now rook f8, preparing f4, g3, stopping f4. Now the other rook joins the attack. So look, guys, now Kasparov here is playing on the king side. All of his pieces now should be brought on to the king side. So he did not play rook f8 planning to f1 after g3. Okay, I will play a4. a4 is playable here, but you don't wanna. You have a clear plan on the king side. Focus on it, especially when your opponent has no moves like here. So the rook goes to e8, and now king g2. Knight jumps to d3. The rook goes to g8 here. Not a great move, but maybe Kramnik is thinking of moving his king and anticipating the opening of the g file after f4. So after f4, Kramnik wants to take and activate his rook on the g file, but f4 nonetheless. G takes, and rook takes on f4. And here h5 by Kramnik, trying to do something. I mean, this pawn is hanging and it's very hard to defend it, so he just pushed the pawn, and okay, if you take, hopefully I can ruin your pawn structure, I can attack your rook, and there's now some play on the g file for white. Kasparov here had rook e5, which is quite a powerful idea, jumping here, and also let's say we play this, check, this is checkmate. Now, of course, after the queen blocks, checkmate. Kramnik is not gonna fall for it, but this is quite a strong idea. And also after, let's say check, if you go back, then I can take here. With check and you lose, you have to give back the queen. So this is quite a strong idea for Kasparov, but he played g5, which is also fine. Rook f1, because the f pawn was hanging. Notice Kasparov here did not rush to take the f pawn. He did not rush to give back the queen, although it's winning, but he just did not have to rush. And also here you could just go back, you don't have to give it the queen. So you don't need to rush here. You're completely winning. Just make sure to not give your opponent any counterplay, especially if you're playing blitz. Rook goes to h4. Now the other rook is ready to jump into the attack. The rook goes to h1 to try to trade down. The rook goes back to f4 here. Yeah, Kasparov is just tickling Kramnik and waiting to see what he is going to do. Is he going to repeat or not? Kramnik repeated. He is very happy with the draw, but Kasparov does not want to draw. Rook ef8. There's a lot of pressure on the f pawn. He played f3, but now just rook back to h4. Kramnik played f takes on e4, and now Kasparov played knight f4 check. This is the idea of rook h4, to give the knight this square, and also now the bishop with the rook do amazing job in the attack. So rook goes to h4, and now knight f4 check. King goes back, and now knight cd3. Look, he brought this knight first into the attack, and then brought the other knight. All the pieces are marching towards the attack. Knight check, and now the other knight joins the attack. Kramnik tried e5. It's a free pawn, but he just wants to create something. He wants to give this square to his knight, maybe open up for his bishop later. Just do something. Kasparov took the pawn, and now rook c1. Rook h3 by Kasparov attacking the queen, and now knight f3. g4, winning the knight, but this was Kramnik's idea. He just wants to give back the material and hope to survive. Rook takes, and now rook takes, knight takes bishop. Okay, now both have 2 pieces and 2 rooks, but Kasparov is up some pawns. He's up 2 pawns, and the position is just crushing for black. Knight check, king g2. You have to defend your rook. So king g2, and now rook takes, king takes, g3, king g2, and knight f4. In this position, Kramnik resigned. Why did he resign? Because he's going to get mated at the end. I mean, or this is completely lost. King f1. If you go king f1, then g2 check, king f2, and now you go rook h3, and yeah, you want to go here and then queen. If bishop f3, then you go bishop check, king e1, you queen, then you check, and you checkmate. There's a forced checkmate. So yeah, after knight f4, Kramnik resigned, and an amazing idea by Kasparov. Let's check it out again. So here, after b3, he noticed that the knight is hanging, and after he takes the knight and the bishop takes the queen, when he takes the knight, the bishop is also hanging with check, so the queen cannot attack the knight, and now you get 2 pieces for the queen, and also you have a very strong bishop here on g7 after you play e4. So there's actually quite a good compensation for black, and I think the engine does not disagree with this idea. I don't think knight takes on e4 here is the engine's favorite, but the engine does not mind it actually, and says black has decent compensation for the queen. And also a very important idea here, Kramnik here played b3. It's very important not to rush and play a3 here with the plan of b4, because there is a4. Remember this idea. Now if you go b4, then I take en passant, and you are never managing to achieve your pawn break. So you have to start here with b3, and then let's say, just to show you, now you can play b4 and there's no en passant. So if I take now, I mean, I'm just showing the idea, and you go back, now I can play c5, of course. Maybe I have to prepare for it first, but you see the idea here. So that was the game. I hope you enjoyed. Drop me a like, share, subscribe, all of this stuff. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.